Welcome to Locked On Golden Knights. VGK lack in creativity this past season. We'll get into all of that, plus much, much more coming your way right after this.
For Locked On Golden Knights, your daily podcast on the Vegas Golden Knights, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hi again, everyone. Welcome to Locked On Golden Knights. Tony Cardasco and Chris Golick here. I am at Tony Dasco on Twitter. He is at TDChrisG on Twitter. And, of course, you could find us on Twitter at Locked On VGK and on our very new YouTube channel. So, Chris, so when the players spoke out, right, they felt that the team lacked creativity this past season. And I, of course, still believe that a lot of their comments led to the firing of Pete DeBoer. What do they mean by a lack of creativity? Let's get into that. Was it the creativity within Pete DeBoer's structure? We saw tentativeness by VGK at times to do with the puck when they received it. Was it a lack of creativity on shootouts? Okay. A lack of creativity on the power play. We're going to get into all of this. It took a lot, perhaps, to have some creativity within the structure. I have to believe, number one, we're stuck in a very stale system, and that's my opinion. And where did you feel they lacked in creativity?
Creativity comes from a lot of places. Me and actually Christopher, my son, we had a conversation about being creative when you start playing hockey, and he kind of asked me what that meant. So it took me back a little bit, and you know, I'll get to your questions and stuff, but some of the things I think of when I think of creativity, I think of the just craziest of the crazy, right? So let's start with the Michigan play that kid pulled off where you flip the puck onto the blade of your stick from being flat on the ice, turn it around, and you do what's now known as the lacrosse goal. That's creative to me. Trevor Zegras just this year chips a puck over the back of the net to his forward who hits it out of midair and scores a goal. So where does that type of creativity come from? And I think the answer to that question is in practice. I think whether it's before, during, or after practice, players just kind of have these things in the back of their mind that they want to try one day. And I think the shootout drills is a great place to start stuff like that. And most practices, not all, but a lot of practices usually end with some one-on-ones with the goalie, and there's usually some fun stuff. I can't tell you how many times I've seen on random Twitter handles, not just Vegas, but other teams and such, where someone comes in, they do this just weird shootout play, and they just make the goalie look silly, and he falls on his butt. And then, you know, think about a video came out this past year with Patrick Kane and Marc-Andre Fleury before he got traded. Kane comes in, he does what he does, he goes full speed, he stops and, you know, dekes the puck about 12 times before he just finds a huge gaping hole in the nets. Fleury gets mad, he throws his stick at him. So that's the type of stuff right there that I think is what leads to creativity. Now, to kind of go into a little more in depth what you said, where do they lack in creativity? You answered all the questions, Tony. Power plays, zone entries, and everything else in between. It just kind of seemed like, let's get the puck in there, make a pass or two, and get a shot on net. And we'll get our 1.8 deflections a game, and however, maybe that was the screen percentage that you said yesterday or something like that. Maybe we'll get some good luck. Creativity is an extra pass. Creativity is maybe a play where one of the forwards sets a pick on one of the defenders that's legal and not seen by the refs. Creativity is just a real nice cycle, and then they find someone who's just wide open and they make a pass across the ice. I think about teams like Tampa, Colorado, and Edmonton, and those are very highly skilled teams, of course, and so is VGK. VGK has the horses to contend with those types of teams, but I think the creativity just lacked, whether it was not doing those things in practice, whether Pete DeBoer was not challenging the players to be more creative. I mean, that's what a good leader does. They find ways to extract more skill than you have or help you become a better player. And Max Pacioretty was very supportive of DeBoer during his exit interview with the media, saying he's made him a better player and such. You didn't hear that from a lot of other players. So I don't know how much DeBoer was just kind of taking the reins off and trying to just let the boys have some fun in practice, which takes the edge off and makes them play a little more relaxed brand of hockey. And that's where I hope our next coach can not just be a good hockey person, not just be a good hockey mind, but they have that additional gear that you really just don't hear about, where the players want to try and do different things.
Creativity to me, I think would mean no restrictions, right? And taking some risks. And they didn't do a lot of risk taking this past season. Shoot below or above the circles. How many drop passes? I was going back. How many drop passes, which is the norm in the National Hockey League, did you see the Golden make this past season? It wasn't even in their arsenal, which is crazy. And, how do you break out, when you have line rushes? There's got to be some creativity to the line rush for the Golden Knights, which we didn't see very much of. It's just either straight at the net or they're cut off and then it just fizzles. And I just seem to think, especially in the ozone, they'll take more risks with the next coach. And I was going back too, right, Chris? And the only game that I thought that they really executed a good plan was against, and it wasn't the realm of creativity, but the game against the LA Kings, they had it scouted just perfect, right? One of the games here this season where they were going low to high because that was a major weakness with the LA Kings, and they were able to I don't know if they exploited a lot of the deficiencies, but a lot of the opponents this past season.
Yeah, that was, I think they beat them like 5-1. That was a home. I think it was like a Saturday matinee game, I remember. And that was just a game where everything is on cruise control. It's all kind of happening. And the game came to the players. Like, you didn't really feel the players pushing too hard. A goal I remember about that game, a power play goal, I believe it involved Eichel and Marchessault. Just it was the power play breakout drill where someone skates the puck up, drops it at the red line, and then yeah, no, it was Marchie and Eichel. I remember at the blue line execute just a perfect entry, and next thing you know, just a pass across the slot and a one-timer. It was really a nothing entry that led to a goal. And one of the biggest things I noticed, and I think I've mentioned this before, is speed in the neutral zone is, in my opinion, the most important part of the game to generate offense. If you have speed coming across the blue line, chances are you're going faster than the defenders. You find a way to make a couple of passes, and you're going to get a quality scoring chance. Our biggest risk taker, I was thinking about that just in my mind as you were talking about it. I think Shea Theodore, he definitely takes a lot of risks. He's very aggressive in, making moves from the blue line and such, and trying to make that additional play. He'll try and beat someone one-on-one. We don't have a lot of players who are willing to take that risk. Okay, here's a good risk. Here's a great risk, and you're going to love this one. William Karlsson having the stones, no pun intended, Mark Stone, but William Karlsson having the stones in a game to clinch the Pacific Division to shoot from between his legs on a breakaway. If that play fails, you look absolutely silly. But he had the confidence, and he executed a goal that brought me right out of my seat, and I don't do that a whole lot, but that goal I was going absolutely crazy. And I don't know if there's fear in DeBoer's system of being creative. Maybe DeBoer just likes an old school way. Let's chip the puck deep, let's get some shots, and eventually they're going to go in. And that's something I felt would happen a lot, and it just didn't. So we need a coach that is willing to extract more creativity out of the players, give them a long leash, let them fail, because it's going to happen. I mean, Connor McDavid last night, I know we're going to talk more about the playoffs in a little bit, but Connor McDavid just made someone look absolutely silly last night. Did Daryl Sutter bench the defender for doing that? Absolutely not. It's Connor McDavid. It happens. And he's creative.
Yeah, and then, Karlsson tried that again this year between the legs, and it was an utter failure. So you didn't mention that. We like balance and fairness on this show. And then, with the shootouts, and to me, again, lacking creativity. Eichel 3 turns, in those last few games, right? In the last 3 shouts, and what does Eichel do? He goes wide. He doesn't really attack, nothing, out of Eichel, who you would expect, especially with his longer stick that he has, you would expect him to do something. In practice, do they practice shootouts? Okay. Because fans have always asked about this. Are they practicing shootouts? Are they being creative in practicing their attempts during shootouts? Or are they just going straight for the net? Which I thought was, again, it's just unbelievable that you can have an O for in your last 3 shootout attempts.
Yeah, Tony, and I think they definitely do practice the shootouts. You see the fans lining the glass, you see the videos that come out. And in practice, that's just what it is. It's practice. You're going to be goofy with the shootout. Your goal is to go in there and make the goalie look bad. But is there all of a sudden a fear when the lights come on in the most important of moments, when you need a goal to save the season multiple times? So your fear is going in there and looking silly and trying to dangle the puck off your skate or something like that, and you don't even get a scoring attempt. Is there that fear, or I think that's what it is, Tony. I think they are just scared to look bad in the shootout when they are the only person who has the puck. It's fail or succeed. And I think they would rather get a shot off that has a lower percentage to go in, but at least they still got their shot attempt off, versus making that extra move with the puck, versus that extra dangled, the 360, which is now legal again to a degree, just something to get the goalie out of their elements. I mean, look at Nikita Kucherov. That's as creative as it gets right there. He finds ways to score on the goalie without even taking a shot. He skates the puck in. He did it to Robin Lehner once. He did it to Holtby a few times. I mean, that is the most creative thing I've ever seen in at least modern hockey, in my opinion. Someone who multiple times can skate down on a breakaway. They never touch the puck. They make the goalie move, and he doesn't touch the puck, and it goes 5-hole. That's the type of creativity that our new VGK coach has to unlock amongst a very talented roster.
And I'm sure that Chris wants to talk about his favorite NHL goalie, Mike Smith, when we return. He only gave up 8 goals last night. Great performance. You are watching and listening to Locked On Golden Knights. Imagine dipping your finger into that plastic tub of birthday cake frosting and then opening your eyes and realizing that it was only 150 calories, 16 grams of protein. And that is what it's like to eat a birthday cake puff from Built. Now, myself and Chris, we just received our birthday cake puffs, and myself and Chris have never had anything quite like it, and they're available right now, and we can't promise that they will be there tomorrow because they are so popular. You need to get them today at Built.com. And if you haven't tried the puffs, let us let you in on a little secret, our friends, because that's exactly what they are. They sound like they're puffs, and they are puffs because they're chocolate-covered marshmallows. It's a protein bar. Yeah, you heard me. Delicious flavored marshmallow, and it's covered in 100% real chocolate and some jimmies, right, or whatever you call those things. Is that what you still call them? Make every day your birthday with Built's birthday cake puffs. Built has taken that delicious experience of biting into a fresh slice of birthday cake, and it's enrobed in 100% white chocolate and added sprinkles. Okay, they're called sprinkles, Cardasco. All Built Puffs are covered in 100% real chocolate. That means at Built, you can eat healthy and you can actually enjoy doing so. And I don't have one of my birthday cake puffs today because they're all gone here in the Cardasco household. Go to Built.com to get your birthday cake puffs right now. Go to Built.com and use that promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at Built.com. Welcome back to Locked On Golden Knights. Tony Cardasco, Chris Golick, his entire family is here, and thank you for giving me some heartaches and headaches with the Canes jersey. Did you have to go there? All right, I guess we'll jump into that first. My goodness, the Rangers played really well for the first two periods, and they had perhaps the biggest missed opportunity of the game last night. Kaapo Kakko missing a wide open net. The Canes, they hit a couple of pipes in that game, right, over Shesterkin. And then finally, Sebastian Aho breaks through. He ties the game up at 1 with a couple of minutes to go. And then Ian Cole, the overtime winner. Okay, so the biggest takeaway for me in that game, the fact that the Rangers could not win a faceoff. Mika Zibanejad won just 6 of 17, and I'm talking about he might have went 0 for his last 11 because he was really bad, and those were crucial faceoffs, and then they could never clear the zone after that.
That's a Gallant trait, though. Gallant did not work a lot on faceoffs in his time with the Golden Knights. I don't believe it is a high priority for Gerard Gallant, and I think there's other just statistics he looks at that makes him think that face-off wins, face-off percentage is not of a high level of importance. I really think that's all it boils down to. But again, an amazing game. It's unfortunate that your Rangers did lose. Hurricanes, they kept in the game, and that's what happens in overtime. That was an absolute nothing goal right there. An absolute nothing goal right there. Cole just is kind of skating out and just throws the puck to the nets. Just throw the puck to the net. Good things happened. And the Rangers defenseman committed the cardinal sin in front of his goalie. You let that puck go through when you're that close. He did a combination of screening the goalie and tipping the puck, which is the worst possible thing he could have done. I know it's human nature there, and I'm not, scowling the guy or anything like that. It happens. It's a big moment, but it was unfortunate. But Allie, your Rangers won. Or Allie, your Hurricanes won, and Chris's Rangers lost.
Chris is a good dude.
Oh, look at that.
A little conference. Oh, wow. He's ready to drop the gloves again.
That was going to be a $5,000 fine right there. It looked like, geez, that was almost a headbutt. All right, who's going to win Game 2, Rangers and Hurricanes? Allie says she'll take the upsets.
That third period was a disaster for the Rangers. I mean, it was all the ozone time for the Canes, and you could see the way that they tilted the ice. And I don't know if, again, to me, and I've said this before, right, Chris? To me, this is every single win now, every game, I think, every repetition for the Rangers is a move forward because it's like gravy right now for the Rangers. It's just, again, something that's going to help them to build for the future. I still say that they're a year away, and I think that they were a year ahead of the plan by making it into the second round. I really do. And they've had some really good surprises, including the kid line and, of course, Shesterkin.
Yes.
But and then I want to talk about the other game, the high-scoring game. Did I have anything else to say with the Canes? No?
No, we're good. They're good. No, we'll see.
Thanks.
Maybe
Thanks
we'll
for
come
adding
on
to my
tomorrow or
nightmare.
next week, and once the series is gone, 3 or 4 games.
Rangers!
Let's go, Rangers! Let's go, Rangers!
He needs a Rangers jersey, that guy.
We have one. We were looking for it. It's only a 3T though. He hasn't worn it in a while. But when the Rangers are in town, he wears his Rangers jersey. When the Hurricanes are in Jersey, Allie wears her Hurricanes jersey, and that's
sweet.
That's what the game is about, though. That's getting the kids involved and not just liking the home team. Expanding the league and stuff like that. So it's a good thing.
And then so the Flames, a 9-6 final over the Oilers in the Western Conference. That entire game was a shootout, and those TV angles are awful. I don't know if you've noticed, like watching the game.
It's that stadium. It's the stadium.
It's just awful. Like you can't really get into the game. It looks like you're far away, and it's like AHL or less quality, maybe ECHL quality. The highlight was that one goalie save in the game, I think. And Matthew Tkachuk, has the hat trick last night. And in March, I remember that Tkachuk had the 2-goal, 2-assist game when they played each other. And the battle for Alberta was wide open. The Flames scoring on their first 2 shots. And I first want you to talk about your favorite goaltender in the National Hockey League? And then I want to ask you more or less a technical, like reffing question or rules question.
Oh, okay. I can see like a technical like skating question or something like that. I was about to leave. No, so I mean Mike Smith, yeah. I mean the first two, definitely the first goal was not a. It's one he would like to have back, as many people would say. The second and third goal, just what are you going to do? I mean, that's not entirely on him. You'd like him to maybe get one of those. The change was needed. Mike Smith definitely was a bit overvalued, I think, after that first round of the playoffs, and all of a sudden the Oilers now are, back to wondering how he's going to do. The backup did absolutely nothing, so it'll be Mike Smith's net for game number 2 on Friday, no doubt about that. But does he have the yips right now? Does he got the jitters? Is he gonna, be able to get past those first couple shots? I always joke, going back to my beer league reffing. I don't remember the gentleman's name, but he always walks in like right at game time. He never gets any warm up, never even gets a stretch or anything like that. The guy walks in literally as I'm getting ready to close the door to start the game. And we always joke with the players, if he saves the first 3 shots, he's impossible to get one past. They might score a couple more throughout the game. But those first few warm-up shots, if he doesn't get them, then watch out. And that's kind of, I think, where Mike Smith is right now. If he can't get 3 or 4 saves early and quick, I think he's going to have a hard time the rest of the series. The Flames are absolutely going to unleash the fury, so to speak, right now. And they have the Oilers on their heels. And Daryl Sutter, how about what a quote by him. Someone made a comment that there wasn't a lot of goals scored in the last series. So he comes out and says, yeah, the NHL told us, you guys need to score more goals. So I told the players to go out and score between 7 and 10 goals. So Daryl Sutter is just so much fun. Brady Tkachuk in attendance as well, just in the stands wearing a Flame shirt. There was an awesome picture of him just smiling as his brother got the hat trick. I mean, that's fun. That's why at least I watch the game, to see stuff like that.
And then Matthew Tkachuk asking Evander Kane if he needed some money for his bankruptcy.
Awesome. God,
that was pretty good. And a lot of chirping going on in the penalty boxes. And I had a question about Tkachuk. So Tkachuk was in the penalty box, right, with Killington. Okay? They were together. And so why did Tkachuk come out of the penalty box first, and then he just raced down the ice and scored that goal? I think it was the go-ahead goal or the 8th goal, whatever. But why did he race? Why did they allow him to come out of the penalty box first? Was it because that when there's 2 players in the box, you can go with whatever player you'd like to come out of the penalty box?
No, so there's a couple scenarios. I got the game report here. I'm just trying to find the penalties right now and see exactly what happened. So Tkachuk got a delay game penalty at 10:45. He got a roughing against Evander Kane. Okay, so looks like there was a big scrum around 4:44 into the third period. So early on, you got a holding against McDavid. Kane gets a rough. Tkachuk gets a rough. So you said Killington was in the box with him?
Yeah, Killington was in the box with him. Yeah.
Okay, so both these penalties occurred at 4:44. So
Okay.
there's 3 total penalties. Killington at 4:44, Kane at 4:44, and then roughing at 4:44. So in a spot like that, it's going to be the way I believe the referee reports the penalties. So it looks like you had, here's exactly what happened. Killington and Kane went off. No, Tkachuk and Kane were the coincidental, and Killington was holding first.
Yeah, but
So,
I think
do you remember if it was-
Can't you select who you would like to
No,
leave the
it's-
box first? No.
No, there's no choice like that. What I'm
Okay.
wondering, Tony, is do you recall if it created, was it a 5-on-4 situation? It had to be a 5-on-4. It could have been a 4-on-3 because everybody would have come out of the box.
Right.
So what
They
I
had
don't
the man
understand, it
advantage.
looked like Kane and Tkachuk got the coincidentals.
Correct.
And then Killington happened during the same thing. So you could go a couple different ways with that. The Killington penalty might have happened after, which wouldn't make a lot of sense because those were roughing penalties, I believe.
No. So Killington had the penalty first.
Killington was holding.
And then we saw, Tkachuk come in and try to get Kane riled up, which he did. And then they had the coincidentals. So
right. And Tkachuk, you said, scored a goal right after that, right?
he came out of the penalty box and raced down and scored the goal. But I think the biggest question that fans might have today is how come he left the box first before Killington? But
yeah, so the way I'm
looking
at this,
it was a big part of the game.
No, and I'm having a hard time figuring
out.
So, I mean, it looks like when... Yeah, so it looks like Kane and Tkachuk got the coincidentals for whatever they were doing. They were roughing against each other.
A little skirmish, yeah.
So I don't understand why Killington, based off the game report, why Killington would not have come out of the box, because I'm assuming the Killington penalty happened first against McDavid.
And it did.
Okay, and then you had Kane and Tkachuk do what they did. So I don't understand. My opinion is those penalties wash. So those penalties don't even go on. So if you're at the game, Tony, those two penalties would not even go on the scoreboard. You wouldn't see those. They would be considered coincidental minors. So if the penalties occurred at 4:44, Kane and Tkachuk should have not been able to come out until 6:44 remaining and the next whistle. So if Tkachuk came out of the box first, based on the way I'm looking at the game report, there could be more to it, obviously, but based on the way I'm looking at it, Kane and Tkachuk should have sat, and Killington should have been the first one out of the box. Basically, first in, first out is another easy way to look at it, depending on, there's more to it, but first in, first out is one of the ways to decipher who should come out first. And since they're coincidentals, they only can come out after 2 minutes plus the whistle. So if it's happening the way you're saying it exactly, then I think the score box missed something.
Yeah, and then what had happened was McDavid was racing into the offensive zone on the rush, and then Killington just drags him down because what else can you do? And then that's when they had the little fracas there. But I think it's something definitely that is interesting, right, about how McDavid was sprung from the box first. But tonight we've got Tampa at Florida, and then we have Colorado and St. Louis tangling once again. And the Blues have to feel pretty good about that opener in the series, losing in OT. Florida, I think, will knot up that series at 1 apiece tonight because for them, the key is going to be to stay out of the penalty box.
Yeah, and I was just kind of curious what the lines were right now. I was pulling those up. But, yeah, I mean, Florida, they got a nice little dose of reality, a nice little reminder that they are playing the back-to-back Stanley Cup champions in a series where the back-to-back Stanley Cup champions are the underdog right now. And I think that doesn't necessarily sit very well with Tampa. I mean, Tampa's a pretty sizable dog tonight, which makes sense. Looks like they're roughly plus $1.40 or so, and Panthers are minus $1.60. So, yeah, based on that logic, even though Tampa came out there and won Game 1 handily, the books feel pretty good about the Panthers getting there, and I think that's the right side. If I'm going to make any financial investment into the game, I think they learned a lot from game number 1, and they're going to be ready game 2. So is Tampa. Don't get me wrong. Tampa's going to be ready, but Florida it's not do or die. I mean, you're not in a do or die scenario until after game number 5. If someone's got 3 wins after 4 games, then fine. But the first 4 games, if you come out 2-2, we'll reassess for the last 3 games at that point. Avalanche, big favorites tonight, minus 230, which is probably the right number based on the way things happened. Colorado absolutely owned almost every moment of that game against the Blues. They got better as the game went on. I think 13-0 in shots in overtime, and just peppering Binnington, all throughout the game. And shout out to him for a wonderful performance and keeping the team in it. In the Blues locker room, it's, hey, they gave us everything they had, but in the Avalanche locker room, it's don't change anything, do exactly what we did, and we'll get out of this game just fine.
Teams that take a 1-0 lead hold a series advantage of 503 wins to 232 losses. So that's where we're at in first round. action.
How'd that work
here,
for the Golden Knights in the Cup?
First game action. Yeah, there you go. Coming up next, we'll talk about who ultimately made the decision to fire Pete DeBoer and who will make the decision on who the next coach will be. Chris wants to talk about that. Bill Foley has to sign off eventually. You're listening to Locked On Golden Knights. Our partners at BetOnline continue to be the number one source for all your sports betting needs and sports information. Find all the latest odds, all the latest news, sports developments, including this year's basketball playoffs, Major League Baseball scores, the National Hockey League. We've got UFC fights and boxing, and even next season's NFL futures. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering information, from live betting to playoffs, esports, and more. Head to the website today, or you can use your mobile device and learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, the game starts. Welcome back to Locked On Golden Knights. Thank you for making us your first choice, your first listen each and every day. For your second listen, you should check out the Locked On Now podcast. Nightly recaps of every NHL game with analysis from our local experts within the network, and it is free and available wherever you get your podcast. Tony Cardasco and Chris Golick from Las Vegas. And I posed those two questions right before we went to break. You want to talk about this. So who ultimately made the decision to fire Pete DeBoer, and who ultimately do you feel will bear the responsibility of hiring the new head coach behind the VGK bench?
So I'm just trying to immerse myself in the situation, right? Let's go back to locker cleanout day and those pressers. McCrimmon seemed very anti's poker. I got poker on my mind apparently, but
Anti-Ranta.
did not seem, yeah, exactly. There you go. So do you, I guess. But sorry. But Pete DeBoer did not have a very high level did not get a vote of confidence from McCrimmon at that presser. McCrimmon seemed to go out of his way to say he felt the roster was good enough to get there and we didn't get the job done, and all those cliche quotes. Fast forward to McPhee's podcast up in Canada, and McPhee hit on the injuries so often. So I feel like McPhee was on Team Pete DeBoer. I feel like McCrimmon was not on Team Pete DeBoer. Owner Bill Foley has vowed to be more involved in the decision making when it comes to the roster, and I'm assuming that also transpires to the coaching staff. I don't think McCrimmon just sent Foley an email and says, "Hey, we're going to go in a different direction." I don't think it was as simple as that. I think Foley had to be sold on the situation and ultimately agree on it. So is this a situation where McCrimmon and McPhee, they lock the door and whoever comes out alive gets to make the decision for the coach, as far as the debate goes? Or all three of them, sitting in the boardroom somewhere at CNA, and they eventually just take a vote and it goes 2-1. And that's what I'm really curious about. We know where McCrimmon stands on Pete DeBoer. We know where he stands. Bill Foley says he's going to be more involved. McPhee seemed to offer support. So I really think that McPhee just kind of put his hands up and said, "This is your team, you make the call." And then I think a discussion happens with Foley, and Foley just agrees to sign off on it because that's what he's going to do. I don't think it's the right decision necessarily to be made to fire DeBoer, but that's how the decision happened. And McCrimmon bears the ultimate responsibility here and is now putting himself out there when it comes to what's going to happen with the next coach.
Do you feel that McCrimmon has just too much power within this organization?
He's the general manager. That's his job. Do I feel he deserves that much power? That's probably the better question to ask me. And based on how the last 4 seasons have gone, I think the answer is no. But he has the power that is entrusted with being a general manager. And, we talked about this as well, I think a week and a half or so ago, that, Foley wants to be more involved. So now all of a sudden, what does that mean? If I'm McCrimmon, hey, I'm the general manager. This is my job. Let me do my damn job, or fire me. Nothing in between. And that's what the general manager does. They make these tough decisions. They make the ultimate decision when it comes to the players that the coach has available to him. So he has the right amount of power for what his job is. Is that going to be compromised at all this year from interference from the owner's box? Is McPhee going to ask to be CC'd on a couple more emails, or just kind of sit in a couple more meetings that he maybe didn't last year? Is Foley going to knock on the door a little more often and, hey, how we doing? What are we looking at right now? We just lost 3 in a row here, and a trade deadline is 2 months away. What's your plan? Like, is there going to be more? There's definitely more pressure. We know that, Tony. There is definitely going to be more pressure this year. How is McCrimmon going to handle that pressure? Is McCrimmon going to be able to do the job that McCrimmon wants to do? Or is he going to do the job that keeps him employed? And I don't know if either of those paths will lead VGK to a successful season 6.
And so Bill Foley, the same owner who said, well, came across my desk and I didn't agree with trading Evgeny Dodonov. Okay. Will Bill Foley now go back on his word? Well, I didn't actually agree with the firing of Pete DeBoer. Can he come back and say that? And again, like, it just seems to be they're not ganging up on McCrimmon, but everyone is pointing toward McCrimmon and all of these decisions. Here's my prediction, okay? You made a bold statement. Kelly McCrimmon, come New Year's Day of 2023, will not be the general manager of the Vegas Golden Knights. They might have had enough of him by then.
That's fair. I mean, that is definitely fair if the team does not perform, because we know we're going to be a salary cap team again. We have no choice to be a salary cap team, and the way things have gone, we are going to be an above the salary cap team and playing that salary cap roulette as we have for the last 4 seasons. But McCrimmon is still riding his season 1 success. He was the mastermind of this day 1 roster, and that is what led to him becoming the general manager. That's what led to McPhee creating a new position within the team so everyone can kind of be there in this 3-headed monstrous triangle trying to make all these decisions for the team. But that's just what I don't get here. McCrimmon creates this roster. He's the mastermind of season number 1. He's the mastermind of season number 1 of a team that went to the Stanley Cup final that you could have got at 500 to 1 odds before the season started. And then he comes out and says that's not sustainable. I know we keep going back to that. Like, you're the mastermind. You're coming back and saying your own plan didn't work, but the plan that didn't work got us 3 wins from a Stanley Cup. So then we start being more creative with free agents and bring a lot of high-priced talent in as such, which, not necessarily bad roster moves by any means, but season 1 worked. Season 1 worked, and on top of season 1 working, we still had salary cap space. We had draft picks. We didn't just have a now, we had a future. And now fast forward to the start of season 6, there's no future, it's now. Briswan, that's and Logan Thompson and maybe some, other throw-ins from Henderson. But there's not a big talent pipeline right now that is up and coming that's going to be able to help us in a year or two. Maybe 3 or 4 years down the road, some other players, fine. But we have become a team that had a bright future that competed now to a team that is only about now. We are only about season number 6. Last year, we were only about season number 5. And at some point, that's going to crumble. It's going to come crumbling down. It's going to blow up like the volcanoes at the Mirage, which have... Okay, here's an over-under. Aren't we losing the volcanoes pretty soon? Like sometime in this calendar year?
The hard rock guitar is going to take its place there.
Right. So what's going to last longer, Kelly McCrimmon or the Mirage volcanoes? Let's call it BetMGM. Get them to put that down in the.
I think the Mirage volcano will outlast them. And even if they're winning, I say they're just going to be sick and tired of McCrimmon and everything else that he brings to the table. I know the
winning
media
cures everything.
The
Winning
media
cures everything,
is
Tony.
just sick of him. They got no answers out of McCrimmon the other day, and we can go into that. That could be an entire episode. And you know what? A nice PR photo of Jack Eichel cutting the birthday cake for Mark Stone. We're gonna.
He's
Is that
he's not a
sickness?
team player. He's not a team player.
No,
he's
there
not a
could
team
be
player.
they're gonna have a lot of these photo ops here. Let's face it. You know, Eichel is going to walk William Karlsson down the aisle next. That's what's going to happen. I think that's something we'll see in the future. But best
That means
of
Roddy
luck to
Smith is
Mark.
gone then.
Best of luck to Mark Stone. He's having his back surgery today, officially.
Yep.
That's what the team released yesterday, and hopefully has a speedy recovery. And I
Yes,
hope I
no
have
doubt.
a speedy recovery for my flight to Chicago, and I hope that my Wi-Fi works for us tomorrow morning from my hotel room there. Okay.
You need some Geno's East, some Lou Malnati's, and here's where you got to go. Do you know where you're staying in Chicago?
You got me.
Okay,
As soon
fair
as I
enough.
get off the plane, I'll figure it out. But no, we
Okay.
have a hotel. There's
If you're in
group
downtown
hotel.
Chicago, you got to find Billy Goats, but it's the Billy
I've
Goats
been there.
on. You have
It's the
one on Lower,
cheeseburger Pepsi
yeah,
place,
the
right?
one. But if you've been to one in Lower Michigan, like the original one.
The one, yes, the original one where you go underneath, like
Yes,
train
okay,
tracks go
that's-
up top, and you go underneath. Come on, man, I've been around the world.
Just making sure. That's my old stomping grounds. Cheeseburger,
It's fun.
cheeseburger. No,
That's right.
no fries, cheaps.
For my man Chris Golick, I'm going to head to his stomping ground for tomorrow's show and for this weekend. We thank you all for making Locked On Golden Knights your first listen each and every day, free and available on every platform. And now make sure that you check out Locked On NHL, from all of this second round action to each Stanley Cup kiss. Locked On NHL covers the playoffs like no other. Hear the latest news and opinions from local experts every Monday through Friday, free and available as well wherever you get your podcast. I'm going to get my pizza in Chicago, and Chris will catch up again tomorrow. We'll see if there's anything new on the head coaching front. And I'm going to try to reach out to some hockey guys I know in Chicago to see if they know anything, because they usually are way ahead of Vegas. So
That's fair.
we'll do that. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. I'm Tony Cardasco for my man, Chris Golick. We'll see you once again tomorrow right here on Locked On Golden Knights.